श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की नवदीप धाम की श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की यमुना माई की श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की गौर प्रेमानंदी. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Good morning and Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class at Sri Radha Gopinath Temple in Sydney, Australia. Welcome to all our Mayapur online TV viewers. Thank you for your feedback and thank you for attending. So this morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay. Samarjita Mahamarga Samarjita Mahamarga Ratyapanaka Chatvaram Ratyapanaka Chatvaram Shiktam Gandha Jalai Ruptam Siktam Gandha Jalai Ruptam Phala Pushpa Satankurai Phala Pushpak Satankurai Samarjita Mahamarga Ratyapanaka Chatvaram Siktam Gandha Jalai Ruptam Phala Pushpak Satankurai Samarjita Mahamarga Ratyapanaka Chatvaram Siktam Gandha Jalai Ruptam Phala Pushpak Satankurai Samarjita Mahamarga Ratyapanaka Chatvaram Siktam Gandha Jalai Ruptam Phala Pushpak Satankurai Samarjita Mahamarga Ratyapanaka Chatvaram Siktam Gandha Jalai Ruptam Phala Pushpak Satankurai. Okay. Samarjita, thoroughly cleansed. Mahamarga, highways. Ratya, lanes and subways. Apanaka, shopping marketplaces. Chatvaram, public meeting places. Siktam, moistened with. Gandha Jale, scented water. Uptam, was strewn with. Phala, fruits. Pushpa, flowers. Akshata, unbroken. Ankurai, seeds. Okay, the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, translation. The highways, subways, lanes, markets, and public meeting places were all thoroughly cleansed and then moistened with scented water. And to welcome the Lord, fruits, flowers, and unbroken seeds were strewn everywhere. So we can repeat. The highways, subways, lanes, markets, and public meeting places were all thoroughly cleansed and then moistened with scented water. And to welcome the Lord, fruits, flowers, and unbroken seeds were strewn everywhere. Okay, so the purport. Scented waters prepared by distilling flowers like rose and kiora were requisitioned to wet the roads, streets, and lanes of Dwarka Dham. Such places, along with the marketplace and public meeting places, were thoroughly cleansed. From the above description, it appears that the city of Dwarka Dham was considerably big, containing many highways, streets, and public meeting places with parks, gardens, and reservoirs of water, all very nicely decorated with flowers and fruits. And to welcome the Lord, such flowers and fruits with unbroken seeds of grain were also strewn all over the public places. Unbroken seeds of grain or fruits in the seedling stage were considered auspicious, and they are still so used by the Hindus in general on festival days. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Trishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavane Bhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padaya Bhutale Srimate Bir Krishna Goswami Niti Namne Namo Hamsa Nikashaya Prabhupada Priyayate Shuddha Shuddhi Nishtabhayam Tasya Vakya Nuvadine. Okay, so it's a very rainy day this morning and everyone's going to work. Some of them are not wanting to go to work. But it's a very good day. Krishna loves rains and he loves to cleanse our streets. Similar fashion, Krishna is coming back to Dwarka and the Dwarka Dham residents are very happy to see him. And the streets and the highways are scented with water and it is strewn about with fruits and grains. And everyone is very happy to see Krishna. The text purport actually suggests that it was a large, very large city. I mean, if you can imagine our highways, where what we have in Sydney must be similar to that, of course. We haven't seen it for sure, but it suggests that there were many highways and streets, public meeting places, and they considered these grains to be auspicious. And we still use those grains when we do our Yagna festivals. We do our fire sacrifice, we use whole grains. So they're still considered auspicious. What I thought I would talk about today is something a little interesting in the sense how Krishna puts his devotees in a certain emotional state. Because when he came to Dwarka, the residents of Dwarka Dham were very, very joyous. And that kind of gives us a clue that there are two more main important things. One is when Krishna arrives, just like he's arriving in Dwarka. And another is when Krishna goes, disappears. And the effects of that on his devotees. We should actually strive to, we actually do. Whenever we have Krishna Janamastami, we are extremely joyous and we're very, very happy. And we're not like that, we're not always like that. It's just the effect that Krishna has on us. And suppose that we are separated from the temple, we go away somewhere, we can't see Krishna all the time. And again, we feel very morose. So these are very opposite emotions. And I thought I'd just read a little bit about his devotees, about his gopis, about his Piva devotees, how they feel when once Krishna makes an exit, and on the other side when Krishna makes an appearance. We've got one example here where Krishna makes an appearance to Dwarka, and how the Dwarka residents feel so joyous and how they welcome Krishna. So one nice example that I thought I'd read about a little bit today is when Krishna disappears from Vrindavan when he's doing the rasa dance with all the gopis. What has happened is all the gopis in the evening had gathered together with Lord Krishna in Vrindavan Dham in the Kunja forests to dance with him, to spend some quality time with Krishna. Krishna was happily associating with them, walking through the forest with each one of them. They were laughing, they were joking. And these gopis became very proud. They thought they were the only lucky ones on this planet, in this entire creation, which they are. I'll just read out. It says here, gopis, however, soon began to feel very proud, thinking themselves to be the most fortunate women in the universe due to being favored by the company of Krishna. Lord Krishna, who is known as Keshav, could immediately understand their pride. So Krishna could tell straight away that these gopis are experiencing some pride. And what does Krishna do when he feels that his devotees are sort of distracting from the path, they're becoming proud? He immediately cuts it and removes it immediately. As opposed to those who are non-devotees and they're feeling pride, Krishna doesn't care about them as much. He will let them feel pride. So Krishna immediately removes the pride. So what he could do, in order to show them his causeless mercy, same time, he removed the pride by immediately disappearing from the scene. So the Rasa dance was going on, and the main person, the VIP guest, was missing. Krishna was missing. He was gone. So, and he did that to curb the pride, to make the gopis less proud. And when Krishna suddenly disappeared from the company of the gopis, they searched for him everywhere. After not finding him anywhere, they became afraid. And almost mad after him. They were simply thinking of pastimes of Krishna with great love and affection. So, Krishna actually describes a little bit later. He says, suppose you have a lot of assets and a lot of opulence and you have a lot of money and all of a sudden that is removed. How devastated you will feel. You will be so devastated because all your money has been removed, all your opulence has been removed, your fixed assets have been taken, your car, your beautiful house, and how will you feel? So for the gopis, Krishna was their main assets, Krishna was their money, Krishna was their wealth, Krishna was their pran dhan. So Krishna removed himself. And the reason he did that was the gopis had the pride, and he wanted to remove that pride. So this effect, what it had on the devotees, on the gopis, it is described in the Krishna book very nicely on this aspect, where Krishna makes a disappearance. He removes himself from the scene. They actually became afraid, and they became mad. They looked everywhere, high and low, for him, to the point they started asking the trees and the plants and the creepers, have you seen Krishna? Have you ever talked to a tree? The gopis, you have talked to a tree? Nice. What did you say to the tree? You don't want to say. We do have in India the desire trees. And we can, but the tree that we talk to every morning at 5 is Tulsi Maharani. She's a plant and she's most beloved to Krishna, and we can speak to her and she hears us. She is Lord Krishna's wife. Actually, when we had done the parikrama in India, I asked my Guru Maharaj, where is all the desire trees? Because we all have some desires. We want to go and wish to the tree. What is, the desire trees in Vrindavan Dham, they grant your wish. They are wish fulfilling. So I asked, where are the trees? This was our first visit to India. I didn't know. And Gurudev said, I'm not going to tell you. Because we can ask for all kinds of wrong things. That is not good for us, the desire trees. So that is the job of the spiritual master, is to protect the disciple from being distracted or asking for any other material wishes. In the end, he took us to one of the desire trees, which is at Govinda Kund in Govardhan. There's a desire tree there, and he instructed us, don't ask for anything else, just ask for service of Lord Krishna, which we all did. But these desire trees we can talk to. The point is, we can talk to them. The desire trees are personalities. They can actually think for themselves, and they can actually visualize, and they can grant your wishes, the desire trees. And the devotees who go to the desire trees, the desire tree can actually gauge, it can actually see what kind of a devotee is coming to me. The desire tree can tell. And the desire tree can also tell your bhakti, the degree, how much you love Krishna and how much you don't love Krishna. How much you love material things, the desire tree knows. Anyway, so that's the desire tree. But the gopis here, they actually went, and I'll read a little bit to say what they did. They went to the banyan tree and said, dear banyan tree, have you seen the son of Maharaj Nanda passing this way, laughing and playing on his flute? He has stolen our hearts and gone away. If you have seen him, kindly inform us which way he's gone. Dear Ashoka tree, dear Naga flower tree, and Champaka flower tree. So they asked every tree they could see. Have you seen the younger brother of Balram passing away? He has disappeared because of our pride. So the gopis, actually, they knew that Krishna disappeared because of their pride. Then they actually even asked the fruit trees. Oh, trees of jackfruit. Oh, pear trees. You know pear. Oh, pear trees. Oh, arson trees. Oh, blackberries. Bale trees and trees of kadamba flower. You are all very pious trees, flowers. Very pious trees to be living on the bank of Yamuna. Krishna must have passed through this way. Will you kindly let us know where he has gone? So they began asking the fruit trees. And then they went to even the Tulsi plant. Dear Tulsi, have you seen Krishna? You are always very dear to Krishna. You are always on his feet. Have you seen where he is gone? So these gopis are getting so anxious and so mad with desire to see Krishna. Krishna's made an exit. And then they after the trees didn't reply, they went to the little animal. So they saw a deer there. And they said, deer is a little, how do you say it, animal, very cute with big eyes. Deer, have you seen Krishna? So they go and start looking, asking the animals. And the animals obviously did not reply. So they looked on the ground, Bhumi. And they said, Bhumi, you are so fortunate that Krishna is stamping all over, walking all over you with his footsteps. Have you seen Krishna? The gopis were so incredibly missing Krishna that they started talking to everything that was within their sight. Plants, animals, soil, earth. And then no one replied. Then he looked. Then they looked at the soil for his footprints. And then they followed his footprints and they said, oh, here's Krishna, he must have stood here. Oh, here's Krishna, he must have looked at these flowers. Oh, and then they saw there was, with Lord Krishna's footprints, there was another set of footprints. Whose footprints were they? They were Srimati Radharani's footprints. And they knew that because the sole of the feet of Krishna and Radharani have these marks. The lotus flower, the thunderbolt, the flag, the water pot. So all this they were able to identify. And they suddenly started feeling very jealous of Radharani. She's the only gopi with Krishna. Krishna has left us, but he's with Radharani. And here Krishna must have plucked a flower, decorated her, all these things. And they started feeling very jealous of Srimati Radharani. And they also started feeling very jealous of Lord Krishna's flute as well, because Lord Krishna was playing the flute, so he could kiss the flute in one way. And so the gopis were very jealous that Krishna was able to give the flute more attention than them. That's like the stage of amazing bhava. That's the prema, Krishna prema, the highest that you can go. We are not at that stage yet. But this is the effect that Krishna has on his disappearance, when he disappears from the sight of the gopis. Then they came and they saw Radharani sitting there and she was crying. And what happened was even Radharani was full of pride. So Krishna didn't even spare Srimati Radharani to cut down her pride. He even left her. And I'm just going to cut to it, actually skip and just explain. Or when the gopis actually saw Radharani, before they were feeling jealous. After that, they kind of commiserated with her and sympathized with her and said, oh, your state of condition is very bad. And they were all crying. All the gopis were so upset. They were very, very sorry. And what happened after that? All the gopis, they got together with Radharani, and they got together and they went to the Yamuna together to wait for Krishna. And that's when the gopis got together and then sang this beautiful, it's called Gopi Gita. It is the prayers that the gopis compiled on the spot out of emotions for Krishna. And they're so beautiful that even our devotees, they sing this Gita that was sung by the gopis in separation of Lord Krishna, and we sing the prayer up till this day. So I'll read a little bit about what they sang about in separation for Krishna. My dear Krishna, you are the life and soul, and even of lotus flowers that grows on the water, of the lakes that makes it transparent in the clear autumn rains. Similarly, without you, we are also dying. Actually, we are not your wives. Actually, those gopis were like Lord Krishna's wives. We are not your wives, but we are your slaves. You never spent any money on us. That's what's written in Krishna book. You never spend any money on us. Yet, we are simply attracted by your glance. So if you really want to attract someone or want to show them that your love, just like a parent would show love to their child, they'd buy their child something. Or a boyfriend might, buy his girlfriend something. So here the gopis are saying, you never spend any money on us, but we are still attracted just by one glance. That's how potent Krishna was. Now, if we die without receiving your glance, you'll be responsible for our deaths. So they just wanted Krishna to even just look at them. If Krishna didn't look at them, they will die. And certainly the killing of women is a great sin. And if you do not come and see us, we die, you will suffer the reactions of a sin. So they're actually threatening Krishna as well. If we die, you are responsible and you are going to suffer the reaction. Anything and everything works as long as Krishna comes to see them. Do not think that one can be killed by only certain weapons. We are being killed by your absence. We are being killed by your absence. You are responsible for killing women. So they are threatening Krishna and they are accusing him. You are killing us, you are killing women. And we are always grateful to you because you have protected us many times from poisonous water of Yamuna, from the serpent Kaliya, from Bakasur, from the anger of Indra and his torrents of rain, from the forest fire and so many other incidents. You are the greatest and most powerful of all. It is wonderful for you to protect us from so many dangers, but we are surprised that you are neglecting us at this moment. So the gopis cannot understand. They know that they have pride, but they thought that Krishna was theirs unconditionally. But it's not like that. And Krishna later on, he explains very nicely. I'll find that page. After singing this Gopi Gita, after they actually humbly surrendered to Krishna and offered really wonderful, beautiful, very surrendered prayers to Krishna in praise, then Krishna decided to appear after that. And when he finally appeared, he came amongst the gopis near the Yamuna. Krishna looked very beautiful to the gopis. I mean, he is beautiful. He looked extremely beautiful at that time. And then he speaks to the... Actually, Krishna, it says Krishna is always surrounded by different potencies, and therefore he is perfect and beautiful. We understand from the Brahma Samhita and Skanda Purana that Krishna is always surrounded by thousands of goddesses of fortune. And over here, it is referred that the gopis are actually goddesses of fortune. Goddess of fortune are Lakshmi Devis. So these gopis are expansions of Lakshmi Devi, goddess of fortunes. And it says here in the Skanda Purana that out of many thousands, so Krishna had thousands of gopis, and in that 16,000 are most important, 16,000 gopis. Out of the 16,000, 108 are more important, and then 108 gopis, out of that 108, 8 gopis are more important. Out of that 8 gopis, 2 are more important, that is Radharani and Chandravali. Chandravali and Radharani, between the two, they are rivals. Between the two, Radharani is most prominent. So Radharani is the most important gopi. But Krishna has thousands of gopis. And he was there with them all together. And it is also written in the Krishna book, these gopis, even though they were the expansions of Lakshmi Devi, they were also in the past life taken birth in the time of Ramayana, Lord Ramchandra. And they were sadhus and rishis, and they were studying the Vedas at that time, and they were followers of the Vedas. And when Lord Ramchandra came, their desire, they saw Lord Ramchandra in the forest, their desire was to relate to Lord Ram in a conjugal way. That was the desire and the wish. So Lord Ramchandra, he blessed them. He said, in this life, I am what? Eka Patni. And what is this? One arrow, one woman. That was his vow. I'll only have one wife and only one arrow. So he said no. He kind of refused to all the sadhus. But he said, but when I come as Krishna. So he doesn't really refuse. And so these rishis and sadhus now are born as gopis also. So it's described here in the Krishna book. They are Vedic scholars. Then another thing was they are also, other than that, they are something else, which they are first of all, they are expansions of Lakshmi Devi. They are also the sadhus and the rishis. They are also Lord Krishna's wives. That's it. They are also Lord Krishna's wives. Each of them, they got together. When they saw Krishna, they quickly gave him an asana. Please sit, please sit. And while they were sitting with Krishna, they were actually trying to hide their anger. They're trying very much to hide their anger. Why did you leave? So this is one aspect of what happens when Krishna leaves, and how he puts everybody in this mad situation. Everything is chaotic in the absence of Lord Krishna. And then Krishna speaks. He says, "My dear friends, persons who simply reciprocate the loving dealings of the other party are just like merchants. They give in their loving affairs as much as they get from the other party." So he's saying that you are doing a business deal. I'm no business dealer. I'm not going to reciprocate just because you gave me X amount of attention or love. So he said, I'm not a business dealer. And then he goes on to actually, he says, "My dear friends, you might be aggrieved by my words and acts." So he says, Krishna says, "I know you are very much upset when I left. But you must know that sometimes I do not reciprocate my devotees' dealings with me." So if you are standing in front of Lord Krishna and he's saying, "Krishna, why can't you hear me? I am praying to you. Why can't you answer my prayers? Why can you not answer my prayers?" Krishna says, "I do not reciprocate." He says it very clearly here. Sometimes I don't. My devotees are very much attached to me, but sometimes I do not reciprocate their feelings properly in order, there's a reason behind it, in order to increase their love for me more and more. So he does that so that you become more and more attached to Krishna. You say, "Well, hi Krishna, could you come in front of me?" The Krishna will not. "Krishna, come." No, he's not going to. "Krishna, come." So, your feeling increases. You call him more and more and more. And the reason he does that is because it is your own desire that you want to get close to Krishna anyway. You want Krishna's association, so he makes those arrangements, and this is how he does it. So increases your feelings towards him. He says, if I can be very easily approached by them, they might think Krishna is so easily available. So Krishna is actually saying, I'm not so cheap. I don't come so easily. He actually admits to the gopis here. He says, you might think Krishna is so easily available. He's not. So he says, so sometimes I do not respond. If a person, then he describes here that, if you had some money and you lost your money, how much of upset you will be in such a sad situation. Similarly, I remove myself so that your loving sentiments will increase. Then he tells the gopis, he says, because you love me so much, I cannot, right here and right now, he tells the gopis, be satisfied with your service and your loving feelings towards me. Because I cannot repay you. So this is one aspect of what happens when Lord Krishna disappears. What happens when he appears? Right now, I've given you a breakdown when he appears with the gopis. But here is another aspect of Lord Krishna, which is still in the Krishna book, when Krishna makes an appearance, when he finally comes. This is when Krishna enters in Mathura, and it's in chapter 41 of the Krishna book. So the chapters that I read before was chapters 31, 32, 33 of Krishna book for the gopis. And this one is chapter 41 of Krishna book. It says, when the news spread that Krishna and Balram and the cowherd boys were within Mathura city, all the inhabitants gathered, and the girls and the ladies immediately went up on the roofs to see them. So see the other side of it. When Krishna comes, how joyous, how ecstatic devotees feel on the other hand. All these ladies, they went up on the roof. They were waiting for the arrival of Krishna and Balaram. They were so eager to see Krishna and Balaram, they did not even dress themselves properly. Some of them placed their clothes wrong, so maybe they were supposed to put the top half of the clothes, they put it in the bottom half, top half. They didn't even know. They were so in such a confused state that they couldn't even place their clothes properly. Some of them anointed their eyes on only one side. So how ladies do their makeup, they only did half the makeup and ran. And some of them wore only one ankle bell on one leg and they forgot the other one. They put one earring and they didn't put the other one. In great haste, not even decorated properly. They went to see Krishna from the roofs. Some of them had been taking their lunch, but as soon as they heard Lord Krishna, they left their eating. So they left their food, they left their dressing, they left their makeup, they left their jewelry. Some of them were taking their baths. They didn't take a bath properly. Some of them, they're feeding their babies. They left their babies even. Anything, when Krishna arrives at the door, you drop everything and you just run. That's what the ladies, they did. They put their babies aside and went to see Krishna and Balram. And passing very slowly, Lord Krishna immediately stole the hearts when Krishna passed by them. They were waiting. How much they were waiting. So this is the arrival of Krishna. One was the disappearance of Krishna. The other one is the arrival of Krishna. And Lord Krishna immediately stole their hearts. He who is the husband of the goddess of fortune passed through the street like an elephant. For a very long time, the women of Mathura had heard about Krishna and Balram, their uncommon characteristics, and they were very much attracted and eager to see them. They were in the point of ecstasy when they saw Krishna and Balram. So that's what happens. When they saw Krishna, their bodily hairs stood up in ecstasy. They had heard of Krishna, but they had never seen him. So this is the first time they saw Krishna. Their faces were joyful, and they began to shower flowers upon Krishna and Balram. Just imagine if Krishna and Balram came to you, what would you do? So the cities, they decorated the cities just like Dwarka. In Dwarka, they had the flowers and the fruits and the scented water. They did the same thing for Krishna here in Mathura. So that is the arrival of Krishna, how he has, he puts everyone in ecstatic joy. You just drop everything and you go and see. You want to see Krishna so much. So now what does Krishna do when he arrives? He does two things. There are two kinds of people that he meets. He meets someone who is envious of Krishna. There are only two. One who loves Krishna and one who hates Krishna. So this particular pastime, when he enters Mathura, first of all he goes and sees the one who hates Krishna, the washerman. He is the dhobi. He washes clothes. So he goes to this washerman who is washing whose clothes? King Kamsa, Lord Krishna's uncle, who is called Krishna by trick to Mathura because he wants to kill Krishna. So this washerman, the dhobi, is washing Kamsa's clothes, and he's very, very loyal to Kamsa. And so Krishna says, my dear washerman, when Krishna goes in front of him, these beautiful clothes, can I have them? Can I have these clothes? Krishna doesn't need clothes. He's got plenty of clothes. But he was just testing. So if Krishna comes to you, he makes an appearance, and he asks for something, what do? You give it to him. You don't say no. Actually, you never say no to Krishna. That is it. The only person who has the right to refuse Krishna is Srimati Radharani. The rest of us, we don't have a right. In fact, you can refuse, it's of your free will, but there is a consequence. And this is what happened to the washerman. The washerman refused giving Krishna clothes, and he also said, well, these clothes are fit for a king. What are you? You're a cowherd boy. You know, you're not even worth these clothes. How dare you? And this was actually the effect of bad association. Kams was a bad guy. So if you have bad association, you are going to behave like this towards Krishna. No. So instead of being pleased to see Krishna, he was very angry and refused the request. And upon hearing this, what happened? Lord Krishna, the son of Devaki, he became angry with the washerman. So if you refuse Krishna, he might get angry also. Depending on your bhava, if you hate Krishna, he will get angry. And immediately, Krishna just lifted his hand and he just struck across the washerman, the dhobi's neck, and actually beheaded him with his hand straight away. Because Lord Krishna, he can use his body like a knife. He didn't even bother to take out a weapon or a sword. Krishna's fingers, the nails, when he ripped open Hiranyakashipu, his nails were good enough. They were probably sharper than the sharpest objects you can imagine. So he had no problem just striking somebody with his hand, and it just turned into like a sword, beheaded him straight away. And that's what happens. So if Krishna comes to you, ask for something, please give it to him. Don't say no. Say yes. So that was one aspect. And he also went on the other side. After that, he went to the florist. The florist is the one who makes garlands for Kamsa. He had flowers. His name was Sudama. And Krishna goes there, and my dear florist, can I have some flowers? And the florist was actually a devotee of Lord Krishna. Immediately he offered his obeisances. And let me see, I've written it here somewhere. There's a... When he saw Lord Krishna and Balram, he was so pleased with his, he offered the florist these benedictions. The florist, he begged Krishna. He begged, as soon as the florist saw Krishna, he offered his obeisances, and then he offered his prayers, and he begged Krishna. He was supposed to make garlands for Kamsa, but he was a devotee of Lord Krishna. He begged Krishna for service, and he begged Krishna for his blessings and his benedictions. And so Lord Krishna and Balram, they were very pleased with his sincere service. And Krishna offered the florist his salutations and benedictions, which he is always prepared to bestow upon the surrendered souls. When the florist was offered these benedictions, he begged from the Lord that he might remain his eternal servant in devotional service, and by such good service do good to all living creatures. This is what we should ask the desire tree. This is what Gurudev asked us to ask the desire tree, that we must always be engaged in devotional service. Bottom line. So when Krishna comes to you, ask for something, you give it. If you give it, then you get the benedictions. In Fiji, we always have this, I think in India too. We always say that you keep some extra prasadam or food, a plate. In case somebody comes to your door, you give them. You never know when God comes knocking on your door. We had in Fiji this gentleman, he used to come to our house, and he would ask for anything that we can give. So that particular day, my mother and I were there. We gave him all the food and all the clothes. He came with a list. You know how you have a shopping list? I want some milk, I want some flour, I want some sugar, So he came with a list to our door. And the funny thing was that everything that was in his list, we had excess of on that day. Right down to the toothpaste. We had excess of every single thing. We had excess of the sugar, the dal, the milk, the toothpaste, everything, the clothes, the handbag, the shoes. He asked for everything, and I had spare of that, and we gave. And before that, that gentleman, he left, he said to my mother, because my mother, she's like all the ladies of a household, they are always miserly and they control the finances of the house. So they have to see, you don't give too much to anybody. That's what ladies do. So my mother was, hesitant. I gave everything, and my mother then also gave everything that he asked for. Then he said to my mother, he said, you don't know who your daughter has fed, because I gave him food. And before he left, he said, you don't know who your daughter has fed. Who? How many? In other words, when God comes to your door, you give him some grains, you feed the entire generations, because your ancestors might be somewhere after they pass away, they're in a situation where they can't have food where they are. And if you give Krishna one grain, he will feed the rest of your family for eternity. So that man who took the alms from us, he told my mother, she said, you don't know who your daughter has fed. And I actually believe him. That is why when we actually take prasadam, before we take prasadam, we offer to Krishna. And we have to give him a tulsi leaf on that, because Krishna will not touch anything without a tulsi leaf. So, yes, we have to think about those things. Offer everything to Krishna. He doesn't just satisfy you, he satisfies everybody. So I believe in that 100%. That is the culture that we have grown up with. If someone comes to your door, you must give them something. And my spiritual master, he says, at least ask them for a glass of water. Ask them for a glass of water. And the temple that I come from in Fiji, Krishna Kalia temple, Shri Krishna Kalia temple, where I was born, there was the temple president there at that time. he would never let anyone leave the temple without prasadam. I have seen him, sometimes he'd take his own plate and he'd take from his own plate and give prasadam out. As long as somebody has eaten something. That was the culture. And sadly, there has been a change of management and, things change. But the culture is still there. In that temple, when someone comes, you cannot leave without prasadam. You have to have something you offer. And this particular temple management, he used to do that. Being a temple president doesn't mean that, you make yourself unavailable. You still have to, and our temple presidents do have these qualities. You still have to have certain qualities like that. That's called a service attitude, and we give. We take, but we also give. What do we take? We take donations for the service of Lord Krishna. Not for ourselves. We take it for service of Lord Krishna, but we give. And that is what we are all about. So you say, what is Hare Krishnas all about? The Hare Krishnas are about giving. We give the names of the Holy Lord. We give bhakti. We tell people, we preach to people, tell them how to get liberated. We also give them food. We serve them. We serve all living entities. So when Krishna comes and asks for flowers, please give him. Okay, so that is all I have to say for today. Thank you for attending. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Yes.
Question about the one arrow of I know that is Maryada Purush. Lord Ram is Maryada Purush,
Yes.
so he accepts one wife.
Yes.
What is the significance about one arrow?
One arrow. That my spiritual master will have an answer. So Nrsimha Prabhu's question is, what is the significance? Lord Ramchandra said, I'll have one wife, but he also said one arrow. What is the significance of that? I don't have like 100% answer. My spiritual master is very good in Ramayana. I'll ask him that question when he comes. But what my understanding is that he doesn't waste his arrows. One arrow, he just shoots and finds his object and his goal. He doesn't really mess around, and he doesn't make anyone suffer with so many arrows. I think he just finds his mark. And he had one arrow. I think he had this magical arrow that would go and find its mark, do its thing, and come back to his, that bow carrier, whatever you call it. So he had a arrow that used to do that. Go and find its mark, come back. It was given to him by one of the Rishi Munis, I think, or I'm not sure whether it was Lord Shiva, but he was bestowed that special arrow. So one arrow, one woman. That was Lord Ramchandra. He was Maryada Purusham. He had his principles. He was the perfect gentleman. And my spiritual master always asks us to follow Ramchandra, not Lord Krishna when it comes to a marriage. One woman, one wife. And he says, we believe in that. In fact, in Kali Yuga, we are not really supposed to have more than one wife or something like that. We don't do that because it comes along with so many problems. And the problems are too much. So less problems, better. And we follow the principles of Lord Ram when it comes to Grihastha life, when it comes to married life. He's our ideal. We follow him. Lord Ram. And Lord Ram is actually Lord Krishna. It's non-different. Lord Krishna himself. Any other questions? I will remember to ask my spiritual master that question. Yes.
In previous life, you were saying that some of them they're very scholars. They're obviously trying to liberate themselves. So how do you understand that from Vedic scholars they became like spontaneous loving abilities of love?
How?
Because usually like Vedic scholars they like God and popped up that
Yes. So differentiating between the two.
Yeah, I mean, how do you understand?
How do I understand? So the question, I'll repeat that. He says the gopis, in their previous life, before they became gopis, in Lord Ramchandra's days in Ramayana, they were Rishi Munis and sadhus, and they were studying the Vedas. And so from the Vedas, they usually have materialistic desires because they are studying the Vedas for something that is material, right? Is that what the question is? How did they become gopis? Is that what you are saying?
Yeah, like Vedic scholars, they acquire knowledge. And it doesn't usually lead to continuous love and attraction to Krishna.
So they are Vedic scholars, and that leads to. It doesn't lead to. Okay, so they're saying, okay, so you are thinking that that is quite right. When we look at the sadhus, rishis, munis, we see in the movies, they sit down and they read books. So how did they change from reading books, right, to becoming a gopi? What is the transition, the transformation? He's asking about that. How did that come about? Is that right? Yes. So the transformation, see, when we study the literatures, it is a good question, actually. It's a very good question, because when we study the Vedic scriptures, right now we are listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam, we are receiving knowledge. We think we're, knowledge. And but what are we going to do with this knowledge? This was the question that I asked His Holiness Bhaktividya Purna Swami also. I asked a question and he said, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Actually, this knowledge helps us clarify our understanding and our relationship with Krishna. The more we learn about Krishna, the more we read about Krishna, the more we listen about Krishna, the more we feel for Krishna. And we certainly feel something headed in one direction. Just like you associate with a person, and you associate, sometimes suddenly you realize, oh, this person is my very best friend. Or somebody like, oh, this person is just like my mother. Or just like my father. So with these Vedic Rishi Munis, they were reading the Vedic scriptures, and it gives you the knowledge, but it gives you the bhava, it gives you the prem, it awakens. It awakens your feelings for Krishna. And this is the foundation of the ISKCON also, the Hare Krishna movement, is to awaken your nature and your relationship with Krishna. That is our goal. Even before the liberation, our goal is to find out how we feel, what we feel for Krishna. So these sadhus, they were actually expansions of Lakshmi Devi anyway. So they had a conjugal relationship with Krishna from before. Their nature was to be Lord Krishna's wives anyway. But they were performing these austerities. And, in order to get Krishna, you don't get him so easily. He's not so easily available. You have to really go through the washing machine and be clean before, you really have to go through everything. You know how you can take a black coal and then you put that black coal through so much heat and fire and so much of agitation, then that black coal becomes a diamond. That piece of coal goes through so much. So if we want to go to Krishna, we have to actually purify ourselves. We go through so many austerities. These sadhus and rishis, they already had, and you also have that inside you, what relationship you have with Krishna. It just needs to come out. And the bhakti that we give in the Krishna conscious, when you chant Hare Krishna, when you listen about Krishna, when you learn about Krishna, that becomes more and more clear. That part of you becomes more prominent, and you suddenly realize, oh, Krishna is a beautiful little baby, and I feel very parental towards him. Or you might say, oh, Krishna is a very handsome young man. I would like to marry him. I met this young girl in New Zealand, and she was sitting there giggling the whole time, and I was thinking, what's wrong with her? She said, I want to marry Krishna. She already knew what she wanted with Krishna. She was a young girl of 16 years old. She was sitting in the home program. And the whole time her attention was divided. But, there are certain feelings that you have. And this particular question is a good question. Why do we study the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first place? Why do we listen to classes in the first place? We want to know what we are to him. Say that somebody says to you, tomorrow you are going to the spiritual world. Okay, that's your time. So goodbye. You are going to go back to Godhead. The first question I will ask you, what are you going to do there? When you go to spiritual world, when you go to Krishna's Dham, what are you going to do there? So that is the million-dollar question. What am I going to do there? What are you going to do there? How did they become gopis? They were already his wives from before. They were expansions of Lakshmi Devi. Expansions of Lakshmi Devi are expansions of Srimati Radharani. They are all her energies. And they're all Krishna's wives. So Krishna, whenever he saw the gopis, he only saw Radharani there, because they were all, because Krishna, he can expand himself in so many forms. He can be Allah, he can be Jehovah, he can be Ram, he can be Lakshman, he can be Balaram, he can be Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Nrsingadev, he is Vaman, he is so many expansions. That doesn't mean Srimati Radharani is limited to only being Radharani. No, she's just like Krishna. She expands millions of gopis, millions of Lakshmi Devis, all for the pleasure of Krishna though. She all serve Krishna. Okay, any more questions? No more questions? Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Puran ki jai.